today I'm really happy because here I have Michael Irwin from Virginia, and he is a Docker captain, DevOps expert. I want to talk about Docker for like 1 hour straight. So, and he also he presented at the DockerCon in a T-Rex suite. So, what else? Let's get started. Yeah, how are you, Michael?
I'm doing well. It's the weather's great here today, and the family's doing well, and I'm doing good. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, so I'd love you to hear a little bit more about yourself, your story about especially development and DevOps. How did you get started with Docker? I'm really curious about that. So please.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I work at Virginia Tech, so it's a university here in Virginia, and it's actually on the opposite side of the state from Brett Fisher. So I grew up pretty close to where he is out in the East Coast.
I want him also.
I know. We'll have to get him here sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started working here about 11 years ago full time, and I started as a developer. But one of the things that I've been really passionate about over the years is how do we just better our processes just to help us get applications deployed faster, more reliably, that we're building the right things. So I was part of the first teams that really started doing like agile development and working with customers. So we're not just doing kind of the traditional waterfall based deployments. And so we started using the agile boards and all that kind of stuff. And about 5 years ago, I was put on a team that was pretty much a greenfield application. And our CIO basically said, hey, go do this really complex application, but you can do anything with it. Don't worry about the current practices and processes that we do things. How should we be doing things in the future? And so we explored a lot of different things. And as we prepared to actually deploy, this was one of our first applications. It was actually the first one at Virginia Tech in which we started using AWS, so using public cloud. And so we asked a lot of questions of, all right, if this is going to be kind of a model for future applications, what should this look like? And we started running into some shortcomings and that kind of stuff with kind of the traditional way of thinking. And then I still don't remember who pointed to Docker first, but they're like, you might want to check out this Docker thing. And it was super early at the time. You know, Docker, I think, was only 2 to 3 years old at the time. And so it had a lot of rough edges, especially installing it on the Mac. And it was messy. But we started playing with it and we're like, wow, there's a lot of power here. And it just started to grow from there. So soon after, our senior leadership at the university was like, all right, let's figure out how we get the rest of people doing this. And kind of like how we were talking beforehand, before we started recording, of like, that change is hard. There's a lot of culture change that goes along with that to get people wanting to get onto the containers. So our senior leadership said, all right, Michael, you're going to DockerCon and you're going to come back and figure out how to get the rest of us on board with it. I'm like, okay. So I went to DockerCon. And as a participant and just shell shocked, I'm like, whoa, this is such a cool community. But my takeaway was, we need to start a local meetup and just get people more exposed to it. And so over the next couple months, I work with Docker, and we started a local meetup, and it started to grow, and we were meeting monthly and everything. And I just got really, really engaged with the Docker community, just broadly, not just locally here in Virginia. And I started writing blog posts and doing a talk here or there, that kind of stuff. And soon after, I was invited to be one of the Docker captains. And it was definitely an honor. And there's a lot of really great people in the captain's program, and have been involved with the program ever since, and producing content and talks and all that, because I've spoken at DockerCon who knows how many times now, and it's just a fun community to be in. And so that's kind of my story in a quick 4-minute recap, or however long it was.
It has been really great to listen to that, because you've seen really the initial phase. Maybe I started a little bit later, but being in the initial phase, that when you feel that something is happening, and I think it's a very good feeling, because it happens maybe once in 10 years, maybe in computer science. So when you feel that, and you know that you want to tell that to people, this is also what I tried, that I'm still doing. But yes, now people is a little bit is getting the understanding on what happened that year, because before I think people were really skeptic about that. Why everything is working? Why should we change? Yeah, this kind of mindset is hard to to demolish.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's been a little fun to see, one, just the massive adoption that it's received, but also two, like when I first got into it, the community was like the uber nerds that was just like, all right, yeah, I'm doing everything with the CLI, and I want, I'm building all these scripts and everything, and it was super nerdy and super fun, and everybody's geeking out and everything. But now as it's becoming like more just mainstream and more adoption, the audience has shifted quite a bit, and so it's kind of a how do we help Docker make sense to those that maybe not as comfortable in the CLI or don't know how to use the terminal and all that kind of stuff? How do we help make it make sense and help people understand here's the power that it's bringing when maybe you're working at a higher level of abstraction? And it's been fun to kind of watch that shift. And how do we train people? How do we teach them? Because if I'm going to teach somebody about containers now, I'm not going to get into, hey, here's all the Linux kernel namespaces and everything. That's way too low level for them now. But it has been fun to kind of watch that shift as well too.
Yeah. I think it's like the shift from DOS to Windows. So I think it's something that you need to know what's going on. But now I think now we can start using some. I've done some very little tutorials about it. I still go full CLI by myself. Also, when I tweet something about Docker, I always prefer the CLI. We know why, but so I think that if you know exactly what you're doing, you can just also click some buttons. It's not a shame. It's not a shame. You can. It's totally fine. But
maybe hard to automate the clicking of buttons, but not everybody needs automation everywhere. So
but usually when you use the UI, then there is some point that you need to open the terminal anyway. So why don't leave it that open? So I love that approach also to understand. For example, now I've seen that for Docker Desktop as like an tutorial, UI tutorial. But I prefer to do just the basic way. That's how I did that. So I prefer to let people get started with that, get comfortable with that, because for example with Git, it's always best for me. It's better to know that. Then you can use that or you cannot use that. But so I totally agree with you.
And just as a fun behind the scenes fact, the Docker Desktop, the getting started tutorial that they walk you through, I might know the person that wrote that. So it might have been me, but it was a lot of fun to put together and to work with Docker on that and everything too. So it's been fun to see the feedback from the community and how it's kind of continued to evolve and everything too. But it's neat to see new things, new tools, new capabilities being added on. And now they've got the GUI where you can see like the images and containers running, and you can click on stuff and whatnot. But
that's great. But do you have any current projects? Which are your current projects? Because I don't know that, honestly. I don't know which I want to know something.
What am I working on now? That's a great question. And sometimes I don't even know the answer to that. But so at least at the university, one of the main role I'm working to fill right now is we've got an initiative here at the university that we're calling the Common Platform Initiative. And there's kind of a couple different approaches, so I'm not going to get all into it. But we're having a big shift as we're looking to migrate things to public cloud and use more cloud offerings and services and capabilities. But also at the same time too, we're going through this containerization journey. And so one of the things that we're really looking to do is how can we, in many ways, containers is letting us raise the abstraction level, just like VMs went from bare metal to VMs, and now people are just working with VMs directly. They're not interacting with the bare metal anymore. Containers are giving us that same capability of being able to raise the abstraction level. So one of the things I'm looking at is how can we provide a service to the rest of the university so that teams can, deploy their applications and really just declare and say, I want this thing to run, and it's running somewhere. So yeah, we're looking at Kubernetes, we're looking at various orchestration frameworks, ECS, since we're running on AWS, but how can we give control back to teams to own as much as they need to, and to be able to tap into various cloud services and other tools without having to know all the behind the scenes of how the networking is working, and all the security groups and IAM policies and all this kind of stuff. So that's mostly what I'm working on. So it's a lot of cloud engineering, a lot of DevOps engineering, a lot of containers. So it's a hodgepodge of everything, and it's fun. And we've got a great team, and we're making a lot of really good progress. And we hope to, once we get to a point, we can start sharing with the community and doing talks. And we're collaborating with some other universities that are trying to do similar things as well too. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to solve the same problems. So
it seems that we are not done yet. From what you say, it says that it's not over yet. So
no, definitely not. I think we're still very early in the container journey. There's still a lot of pain points with how do I develop it. And honestly, one of the things that I've struggled with when working with developer teams, just the cloud native mindset is still very new to people. Thinking 12-factor apps. How do I build this app and now just reconfigure it to work in different places? That's hard to teach, and it's hard to train people on how to do that. And so I think hopefully over the next couple of years, we'll see more tooling to help out with that, more guidance on how to do that, and ways to really help this abstraction level actually rise and it makes sense to people without having to know everything. So yeah, there's still a lot of unsolved problems. And then, then there's also the whole like data science, machine learning, big data kind of stuff. And, some people are trying to use Kubernetes for that. And there's a lot of unanswered questions in that space too.
Yeah, we are still in the migration process. We don't know. We are starting using the engine in some ways, so we still don't know. We don't know the answer. I would love to hear some answer from you, but maybe and
that's the thing. I think we're all still trying to figure out the answers. I think we've all, for the most part, figured out as an industry this ability to package up a container image that is designed to do one type of thing, whether it's to run an app or to process some data or to run a CI job or whatever. This ability to in a standardized way to package up a tool to do something is powerful. And I think we're still trying to, just like the shipping industry, there's, it makes sense why they picked the name containers. There's still a lot of tooling and whatnot that's being built around it. And it's exciting. And so, yeah, you may talk to people and one person says the answer is this, and another person says, well, the answer is that. And there's a lot of diversity, which is good. But it also means it's hard to know what direction should I go. So.
But I think that this is the game. This is the part of the game to being in a continuous process of understanding what should we do now, what we should learn, which kind of tool, but there are, and that actually, I wanted to interrupt you, but the 12-factor app, it's quite an old concept. Yeah. It's not in Heroku, I think. Yeah, they did that. I don't remember the exact year, but it was not that. It was not that. Yeah, we can go with that.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Go. Let's shoot. I think.
All right, what's your guess?
12. Yeah.
Any guess on what year it was released?
What?
Any guess on what year it was released?
What, the 12-factor app?
12-factor app, yeah.
Let's do 2012.
You're pretty close. It was 2011. Yep. So
I want to cut this video and put my good question, my good answer.
Yeah, we're editing that part out.
Yeah. So but basically, those factors, they are really practical factors. Yeah, I've also
Yeah.
made I one time, for example, I did a Twitter thread about that. I tried to make one tweet for each factor up. It was like it was quite challenging for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used like an hour to do that. But yeah, it's important to understand those concepts. Yeah, before maybe it's better before, because for example, in my case at my job, we haven't followed one of them, the log one, for example, and it was a mess. Then after to change them, so maybe you need to understand before starting if you want to follow them or not, but they are there for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah, and so so it's important. The basic concepts are important. Yeah, maybe you can also use a different. You don't have to use Docker. You can use other tools maybe, but the concepts. Yeah, so yeah, sometimes people just tell, oh, but let's use this other container engine. Which one is the better? But first of all, I think that you need to understand what the containerization word is, and then you can. Yeah, it's like talking about JavaScript frameworks, I think. So maybe you need to first of all understand what a framework is, and then you can choose one, because sometimes it's like a BS, one thing versus another. Yeah, and I haven't done any containers versus virtual machine video because I know that it's not really versus. I think there are still some use cases. They are not that like before, but there are still some. Yeah, so we don't want to kill virtual machines. Also because Docker Desktop works inside a virtual machine, so we need that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are different use cases. Usually, you don't need maybe anymore to get started, but yeah. So
yeah, and you bring up some good points. I mean, so yeah, understanding the principles that are being taught with 12 factor. Why is this particular factor so important that if they just pick 12, why is this one here? And then once you kind of understand the principles of the problem that it's trying to solve, then it's a lot easier to say, okay, let's look at the tool landscape and figure out what tools can I use to help meet these needs to solve the various problems. But yeah, it's hard to figure out why would I choose X over Y over Z or whatnot if you don't understand the motivations behind them, or what principles, what things they're trying to solve. Kind of and you bring up the containers versus VMs discussion. I hear that all the time. It's like, is container isolation enough, or do we even need VMs anymore? And yeah, there's definitely values for everything. It just depends on what your use cases are. And like we see things like AWS Fargate and their Firecracker VMs or whatnot, these micro VMs that are really designed to just run a single container. There's a lot of advantage to that, a lot of isolation that comes along with that, and resource assumptions and everything that come along with that. But anyways, there's so much in the landscape. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm really interested into this world. I started like not as a DevOps developer. For example, in my university, it was really. I'm 37, so it was not that used. But then I started by myself. I started with Bert Fisher courses. They are really pretty good. I always recommend them to get started, for example. Yeah, so he is really, really great. I hope he's watching this video, because I really admire him. Yeah, and yeah, because sometimes also to learn these concepts is not easy. So maybe it's difficult to get a good understanding, but also maybe in a fun way. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's important to get started as soon as possible to the switch, because it will happen. And so and we are in 2020 and we are still talking about migration. I think I think I started this video to watch these videos like 4 years ago, and so in my head I think I was thinking, oh, maybe in 2 years we have done this migration. So, and instead apart of all this crazy situation in this year, but we are still there. There's still so much things to do, so we'll see. And
then we add a pandemic on top of it, just to,
we have that just because it's better to have one. So Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, and so yeah, and also like to hear from you, which are your future plans? Do you have something that you gonna do now or in the future? Are you planning something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so at this point, I was mentioning this initiative, this role that I'm working on at the university, and I think honestly, with the scope that we're looking at, this could easily be something that's going on for many years. And I see myself being interested in continuing to work on this. But there's always fun problems to solve at the university, and that's kind of the fun thing with having both administrative side of things of just keeping the lights on and login systems and student records and all the admin side of things. But then there's a lot of really fun faculty research projects and how do we help support and facilitate their needs, and help cloud consulting, whatever. So, there's a lot of really fun things going on there. So career-wise, yeah, I'm quite happy with where I am right now and where things are going. Outside of nerdiness or whatnot, I spent a lot of time with my family and doing everything. We just had another kiddo join the family about just over 4 weeks ago, and our first boy. So we've got 4 girls and a boy,
Wow.
and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun, and of course, we look forward to the day when we don't have to worry about COVID restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Being able to get back with play dates and going to the playgrounds and all that kind of stuff. But who knows when that'll happen? But yeah, I just love spending time with my family. So we do a lot of that. And now that they're getting older, we're looking to do like more adventures. And okay, let's go. Since we've mostly done homeschooling and being in Virginia, we can say, well, hey, you're learning about American history. Let's go to Jamestown and see where the settlements were. And let's go to Philadelphia and talk about how the country started and everything. And so there's a lot of really cool things that we're looking forward to be able to do as a family going forward.
Yes. Yeah. So how is being a dad of five children? How is because you look quite relaxed also. So what's your secret? Because yeah,
slightly moisturized. No, I'm just kidding. So honestly, as I've talked to a couple other families, yeah, having 5 kids is crazy, but at the same time too, one of the things and I think this really sunk in since the pandemic started, by having so many kids, and our oldest is 8, so we really have 8, 6, 4, 2, 0, so they're all really close to each other age wise. And since we've been mostly bottled up at home, in many ways it's brought everybody closer together, and they all have built-in friends, and so there's not too many times in which it's okay, somebody's bored and they're just like, hey dad, come play with me, and so as I've talked to other friends of mine who have just like 1 or 2 kids, it's actually harder for them right now to have only 1 or 2 kids, because they as the parents have to be more of the entertainers, while our kids mostly entertain themselves now between each other and play with so it actually works out pretty well having lots of kids.
Wow. Yeah, this is a very great answer that you gave to me. Yeah, because and you still found the time to come here. So I'm really happy about that. So I don't know how you do that. Congratulations for that. But yeah, so
yeah, and it's nice having a basement that I can this is my work area now, and off camera you would see like bike helmets and cardboard boxes that have been turned into houses and like all kinds of other stuff. I just clear the camera view angle off. So.
Thank you so much. But yeah, I think behind there are a lot of things. Yeah, we don't want to know about that. But
yeah, I won't pan the camera around the room.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it has been really a pleasure. I'm doing this kind of videos like for 2 weeks now, and I've already talked to a lot of very interesting and great, amazing developers like you. Yeah, and having you here is a bit strange for me, because sometimes when you watch videos, or maybe when you watch TV, you think, I don't know, maybe they are not real. They are just there. They are bots. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's kind of this fun imposter syndrome thing that goes on, like, oh my goodness, they're speaking at DockerCon or XY conference and they're so amazing. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're just still other people that just like everybody else. And we have stories and I love doing exactly this kind of thing of talking to people and getting to to know others. So,
Well, you are really humble, but I think that maybe what you did is to you get started very early. So maybe this is one of the key, maybe to there because. But yeah, I think I think it all starts with I think a bit of curiosity. So I think that one of the skills that a developer or maybe also a DevOps must have is to be curious. So try new things, try other things. Also, other container engines. It's not that. It's not that the problem. You don't have to stick to one technology forever. You don't have to marry Docker or marry one technology. You need to understand something and then move on. Then understand if you want to change something. That's it.
And I think you kind of hit on a point too, that the curiosity in many ways, I think a lot of this community is curious to find ways to make things better, not just for themselves, but also their teams and their processes and their business. You know, how can we deliver more reliably, more quickly, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, they're curious to go look for other tools, and many of these tools are designed to do exactly that. So in many ways, the curiosity is driven by a desire to make things better for others, and so because of that kind of innate curiosity, there's more desire to share what it is that you learn. And so that's one of the things I really love about this community, that it's so open and so willing to share and to help other people, because we're all just trying to make stuff better.
I always say that if we weren't not that good as the community, things like GitHub would never exist, for example. They will just fail. There's like three repositories, and that's it. And instead, so I love the mindset of developers because they are so open, so friendly. I found so many good developers on Twitter this year. I definitely call this my social year, because before that I was just studying by myself. But then I found this really solid and helpful community, and I want to speak to all of them. I don't know how much time I will take. I had one person who said to me, "Oh, why are you doing so many calls? You eventually don't have any developer anymore to interview." I don't think this is a problem. I can also invite them 2 times, so the problem solved.
Just start over.
I can reiterate over time. But that's it. And so thanks for being here. And where can we find you?
So my handle is pretty much the same everywhere on the internet. So it's Mike, MIKESIR 87. And so that's Twitter, GitHub, really Keybase, or wherever you want to look, that's pretty much me there. And some people ask, okay, Mike, sir, why Sir Mike? S is my middle initial. I'm Michael Scott. And if you watch The Office, yes, I get all those reference jokes. But so Michael Scott Irwin. And so, you know, I think 10-year-old me, when I first made a Hotmail account, was like, "Oh, Mike Sir 87, that sounds so cool." And it's just kind of stuck ever since then. So, but that's me on the internet. So feel free to follow me on Twitter or whatever else.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Very friendly. It's been really a pleasure to have you here. I hope to talk to you soon, or on Twitter. We can chat anytime. I wanted just to get a little bit relaxed, because I've chatted on Twitter for like months, and then I'm tired. I want to talk a little bit, maybe half an hour. So I think it's a different way of communication. I love that. So I keep going. Thanks again, Michael, for all your knowledge. Best luck for everything, really, your family, your future projects, everything. And that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for having me, and I'd be happy to come back again at some other point.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stop.